Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Grantara Śrimad Bhāgavatam Ki Jai Hare Krishna. So we are reading from third canto of Śrimad Bhāgavatam, chapter 23, Devahuti's Lamentation, the last text from the chapter, 57. Okay. You have verse 57? Okay. Saham Bhagavato Nunam Saham Bhagavato Nunam Vanchita Maya Yadridam Vanchita Maya Yadridam Yat Tvam Vimuktidam Prapya Yat Tvam Vimuktidam Prapya Namu Muksheya Bandhanat Namu Muksheya Bandhanat Saham Bhagavato Nunam Vanchita Maya Yadridam Yatvam Vimuktidam Prapya Namu Muksheya Bandhanat. Saham Bhagavato Nunam Namu Muksheya Bandhanat. Saham Bhagavato Nunam Vanchita Maya Yadridam Yatvam Vimuktidam prapya namo moksheya bandhana. Saham bhagavato nunam Atis. Saha bhagavato nunam vanchita maya dridam yatvam vimuktidam prapya namo moksheya bandhana. Saham bhagavato nunam vanchita maya dridam yatvam vimuktidam prapya namo moksheya bandhana. Saha, that very person. Aham, I am. Bhagavata, of the Lord. Nunam, surely. Vanchita, cheated. Mayaya, by the illusory energy. Dridham, solidly. Yat, because. Tvam, you. Vimuktidam, who gives liberation. Prapya, having attained. Namo moksheya, I have not sought liberation. Bandhanat, from material bondage. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki. My Lord, surely I have been solidly cheated by the unsurmountable illusory energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For in spite of having obtained your association, which gives liberation from material bondage, I did not seek such liberation. Purport. An intelligent man should utilize good opportunities. The first opportunity is the human form of life. The second opportunity is to take birth in a suitable family where there is cultivation of spiritual knowledge. This is rarely obtained. The greatest opportunity is to have the association of a saintly person. Devahuti was conscious that she was born as the daughter of an emperor. She was sufficiently educated and cultured, and at last she got Kardama Muni, a saintly person and a great yogi, as her husband. Still, if she did not get liberation from the entanglement of material energy, then certainly she would be cheated by the unsurmountable illusory energy. So maybe I'll just read the purport on a few times. Omagyana timirandasya ginanjana shilakaya chakshurun militam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. I'm seeking the blessings of all senior Vaishnavas, especially Maharaj. Hare Krishna. So this chapter is called Devahuti's Lamentation, and it looks like that Devahuti is actually a very lucky person, because she got everything that someone can desire in this life. very good birth, beauty, education. Srila Prabhupada is also saying in the purport she got amazing husband, like very advanced spiritually, and a great yogi also, who could fulfill all her desires. So how it is that she is lamenting, and why is she lamenting? And generally when the living entities are lamenting, it may have two reasons. One reason is that they are under the influence of the material energy, and that's why they are lamenting, because their desires are not fulfilled. But now rather the situation is a little bit different, because Devahuti is very special personality. Like she's a great devotee, and not just a great devotee, but so great devotee that personally the Supreme Lord appears as her child. And her husband is extremely qualified. He's also a pure devotee. So it's not possible that she's just an ordinary person. Rather, in this case, the illusion is caused by the internal energy of the Lord, or the spiritual energy of the Lord. And we have other such situations, like for example with Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna looks confused and illusioned and depressed, but actually this is not the influence of the material energy, rather the spiritual energy of the Lord. So sometimes the Lord is making these situations because He has to give a lesson, and He has to use someone in a pretext, as a cause, to give the lesson. And generally He's using actually His devotees. Like in this case, this lamentation of Devahuti will become the reason for what? Yes, for the teachings of Lord Kapila. Because if she doesn't say, okay, I need this knowledge, someone has to save me, he doesn't have a reason to speak. Srila Prabhupada is explaining in the purport that intelligent person is utilizing good opportunities, and he's saying there are three very good and important opportunities in the life. The first one is, who remembers? Human birth. Yes, good birth, and especially it means human birth, human form of life, because only then we can make spiritual advancement. Then the second one is, if one is born in a good family, if he has the opportunity to make a spiritual advancement, to take this opportunity. Like some of us, we was not as fortunate, but some are. So especially those who are born in a family of devotees, they have to take this opportunity very, very seriously, because it's not by chance that they are born in these families. That means they were doing very good job in the previous life, but somewhere on the way something happened. And now, okay, second chance. So take the opportunity. And even if someone is not born in a devotee family, if he is born in a very favorable situation, let's say a very good family, a rich family, so he has all the opportunities for very easy going life and a good education, one should also take advantage of this. And Srila Prabhupada is giving again here the example with Devahuti, how she got very good education, and later she got the third great boon that we can get in this life, association with saintly person, with very spiritually advanced person. And she got Kardama Muni as her husband. Now, this was very, very good, but at the same time, there is little bit weakness there. Why? Because we know familiarity brings. Yes. So although he was such a elevated spiritual personality, if you associate with someone every day, and especially if you are in this kind of relationship, you tend to take it for granted. And you may not take the best opportunity from this situation. So now Deva Hurti, this is part of her lamentation. She is saying, actually I have the opportunity to have such elevated association, but I am not really taking completely benefit out of it. So yeah, this becomes a reason for her lamentation. So Srila Prabhupada is mentioning these three. They are very important, and we have to really use these opportunities in human life. Actually, the illusory material energy is cheating everyone. People do not know what they are doing when they are worshipping the material energy in the form of Goddess Kali or Durga for material boons. They ask, Mother, give me great riches, give me good wife, give me fame, give me victory. But such devotees of the goddess Maya or Durga do not know that they are being cheated by the goddess. Material achievement is actually not achievement, because as soon as one is illusioned by the material gifts, he becomes more and more entangled, and there is no question of liberation. So many people, they pray to higher powers like Durga Devi or other demigods for material benefits, but Srila Prabhupada is saying actually they don't get any benefits. One time Srila Prabhupada had interesting statement. He said they worship Mangala Devi. What means Mangala? Okay, yes, like Mangala? Yes, like Mangala. Yeah. So they worship Mangala Devi, but Amangala Devi will come. This is what Srila Prabhupada said. So we are asking for something that we think it will be actually for our good, but Srila Prabhupada is saying in this way they become more and more complicated. And this is one problem with getting too many material assets. In the beginning, you think, I need them, or I can handle them. No problem, I'm young, energetic, I'll do it. What is the problem? But then gradually, the role reverse, and instead of you controlling these things and using them, they start controlling you and using you. And then, at some point, life is over, and your whole life went just to maintain some material things, some material situation, and you could not really get the best benefit out of this human life. Sometimes we think, I have something, but actually I'm not so attached to it. Every moment I can live it. Like I remember when I was joining the Krishna consciousness movement, and my father had the big doubt that maybe this is a big world sect, and he wanted to check out the information. Fortunately, I had an uncle, actually he's living here in USA, California, and he was, for many years he was into yoga already from before coming to USA, and especially when he came to USA, he became part of the Vedanta school. But which Vedanta? Advaita Vedanta. But anyway, he knew something about like Hare Krishna and all these things. So my father brought me there. I was very young, maybe like 17 at that time or 18. And he said, so what do you think about my son? He is entering into this Hare Krishna. What do you think about this? And my uncle, he was like, I'm internally indebted to him. Because of that, he was totally on my side, and he said, no problem, don't worry. It's very nice, actually. It's very nice for him, and this, that. So I was, yeah, Haribol. But Then that was the first part of the talk. Then in the second part, he started to preach to me a Mayavada philosophy. Now, I already read some of the books of Prabhupada, so I was familiar with what Mayavada means. And I could recognize the philosophy. But now it's a very difficult situation because if I directly start going against him, he may say, oh, actually Hare Krishna is very bad, so then I'm in trouble. So now what to do? At the same time, I read it's not good to listen to this Mayavada philosophy, so I was tolerating. And then at some point, he continued speaking while he was smoking his cigarette. And then I couldn't tolerate this, and then I said, but you are explaining this very high philosophy and at the same time smoking. And then he became so angry. He said, you don't look what I'm doing. I can stop these cigarettes if I want now, immediately. And I said, are you sure? He said, yes, I can do it if I want, but I don't want. But otherwise I can do it. So, I mean, I was thinking about that. Like, sometimes we think we can give up something very easily. But actually, it's very difficult to give up something once you become attached to it. And even more so with our big possessions that we have. Okay, like you have some small bad habit, you can give it up. But what about the big possessions? Your parents, they write their will and they leave for you a nice house on Long Island. Big house, like worth of $10 million. Are you going to be detached and stay in the temple? Or you just go from time to time just to check out if everything is okay with the house? And so then it's not so easy to be detached anymore once you have big possessions. And okay, these are like not living possessions, means, okay, you have it, you can even leave it, no problem. But what about our relationships that we have with real personalities? This is even more difficult to give up. So if we become too much entangled in these things, Srila Prabhupada is saying, we'll be cheated by material energy because it will be very difficult to give substantial time to Krishna. We can do our spiritual life, like we can finish every day our 16 rounds, or we can go to the temple once in a week to confess for our whatever we did during the week. We can do these things. But how much depth and quality there will be in our spiritual life? That's the question. Like sometimes Jayadvaita Maharaj, at some point Jayadvaita Maharaj was explaining how in the spiritual life we advance in two different ways. One way is very much measurable, like, are you a devotee or you're not devotee? Do you chant Hare Krishna or you don't chant? You got first initiation or not yet? You got second initiation or not yet? So it's very easy to see the tangible advancement in spiritual life. Because these are little bit kind of external things that you can see, you can measure. But then now the second way how we perceive our advancement in spiritual life is, okay, you're chanting. Now, how you are chanting? How you are chanting your rounds? Okay, you are chanting rounds, but how you are doing this? Or you are reading the books of Srila Prabhupada. Fine, good enough. But how you are reading them? You're reading them with understanding or with confusion? That's the second way how we see. And that means that even at the point when we kind of become familiar with the external lifestyle of a devotees, then next thing we have to do is try to improve the quality of this lifestyle. Chant better rounds. Focus your mind in the morning. Don't just go through the rounds, but focus your mind. And the mind, 1,000 times he'll go here and there. And every time you try to bring him back, like in Bhagavad Gita it is said. Yato nischalati mana chanchalam astiram tato nyamyastat atmanieva vasamnet. Again and again the mind will go to wander somewhere, and again we have to bring it back. And then after a while, if we are ready to put this endeavor, then the result will start coming. We'll feel happy. I was wondering today, okay, can we say that when we finish our rounds, if we are happy, this is some kind of criteria for a good round? I won't answer this. I will leave an open question for Maharaj, maybe at the end of the class. He can say what are his thoughts on this. But I was thinking, maybe at some point, yes. Because if you associate with Krishna properly, the result from this will be you feel inspired, you feel inspiration, you feel happiness, not moroseness. So chant the good rounds. Invest in good rounds, and invest in certain intensity in your spiritual life. Like not just drag yourself through the morning program or drag yourself through the Harinam, but increase the intensity. Like sometimes we go on a Harinam, there it's interesting, you can take different positions when you're on the Harinam. So one position is, let's say there is a leader. Of course, one position is you are the leader. Then it's difficult to space out. Again, you can, but more difficult. Then other position you can take is you really try to be exactly next to the person who is leading. And you're like sucking his face and mouth with his eyes like, okay, what is he singing? What is the melody? Oh, he's making this. Okay, now I have to do it. Like full attention what's happening now. The dynamics of the kirtan, the melody, the rhythm, everything. So you are really present there. And then you really go deeply into the kirtan. Now, other position you can take is distance yourself. I'll be here, but at the same time, I won't be here completely, like 100%. And then you are there and you're singing Hare Krishna, but at the same time, you're hearing the birds chirping. And wow, this person looks interesting that is passing by. And someone is selling something, and the policeman is doing something over there. So your mind is registering all these things at the same time. So it's not only the Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna is there, it's part of the picture, but maybe it's it's not the first thing in our mind. Like our mind sometimes can work with few things at the same time. So the Hare Krishna mantra is there, but it's somewhere on the outskirts. And in the inner circles, there are a few other things. Like, lunch was nice today, huh? Wow. Last 2 weeks, I did not get such a nice lunch. Wow, I feel good. Or, I cannot understand why he's dealing like that with me. Every morning, he's on my case. Why he's doing that? So many other things are going in the mind at the same time. So then, we cannot benefit in exactly the same way. We are there, we are getting the mercy, we are getting purified, but we cannot completely experience the experience that should come from the spiritual practice. So in these kind of moments, we can build more intensity in our spiritual life. Try to become more focused. And sometimes one thing that helps is just increase the volume. This helps sometimes. Like, for example, instead of chanting 16 rounds, if you chant 32 rounds, well, you see there is some improvement. But sometimes you have to just put more endeavor, just to bring your mind and put it on whatever you're thinking. So Srila Prabhupada is making this point. If we worship material energy, we can be cheated. Now, if we worship Krishna, we will be never cheated. Why? Because Krishna will purify us, but He will give us the real thing. He will never cheat us. That's the good thing if you enter in a relationship with Krishna. One should be intelligent enough to know how to utilize material assets for the purpose of spiritual realization. This is called karma yoga or jnana yoga. Whatever we have, we should use as service for the Supreme Person. It is advised in Bhagavad Gita, svakarmana tam abhyarcha. One should try to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead by one's assets. There are many forms of service to the Supreme Lord, and anyone can render service unto Him according to the best of his ability. So, whatever we can do, we should do it for the pleasure of Krishna. We should find different things in Krishna consciousness that we like to do. And sometimes we will do things that we may not like to do, but we should have also a good amount of things in Krishna consciousness that we like to do. And then we will be inspired to do them. Because when we do something that we like, it's very easy to absorb the mind. And the mind is the place where we experience taste. If we do something that we like, and if we experience taste out of it, we want to do it again and again and again. If we are doing something just because we have to do it again and again and again, at some point we may become fried a little bit. That's why we should find some balance. Predominantly, we have to be engaged in the things that we like to do, and we can do in Krishna consciousness, and then we will be inspired. And sometimes if the spiritual master comes and says, okay, we have a special mission for you. You have to sacrifice next 24 hours or 24 years of your life for the mission, we have to do it. Are you ready? What is 24 years? It's nothing. Are you ready, Hadai? So you have so much ahead of time. Yeah, the point is we should find things that we like to do. So the third point was that the most important thing, the most precious thing in spiritual life is association with saintly personalities. If we have this opportunity, we have to take it. We have to associate with them. And we should not use them just to improve our material situation. Rather, we have to use them to make spiritual advancement. Like one time they asked Srila Prabhupada, can you say a verse from Shastra that gives the most important meaning of Shastra? That is the essence of the whole teachings. He said this verse? Okay. What I know is that he quoted this verse from first canto of Bhāgavatam, second chapter. Dharmasya hi apavargasya. And he explained this is very important verse because we should understand that the goal of spiritual life is not to improve our material situation. Rather, the real goal of spiritual life is to go back to the spiritual world, to become liberated from material contamination, go back to Krishna. So when we see a sadhu, when we associate with sadhu, when we serve sadhu, we should try to do this for the sake of spiritual advancement, not just to improve our material situation. And if we do that, then we will get the real benefit of a sadhu. Like this famous story with Sanatana Goswami, this person that went to him and said, I heard you have something very precious in your back courtyard. Can you give it to me? Oh, what is that? Oh, I heard you have a special touchstone that can produce unlimited amounts of gold. Sanatana Goswami said, oh, that's why you came. Take it. I don't need it. You go behind, where is my garbage bin? You can find it there. And then the person took it. While he was going back, very happy that he has this amazing treasure, he started thinking, wait a minute, that's the amazingly precious thing and he's keeping it on his garbage pile? Like, it doesn't make sense. And then he was intelligent enough to go back and ask Sanatana Goswami, do you have something more precious than this? Sanatana Goswami said, yes, I have. Can you give me this? Sanatana Goswami said, yes, I can, but I have one condition. Oh yeah, what is that? You have to leave this Chintamani stone. So leave all these material possessions and entanglements so that I can give you the real thing, the real precious jewel that I have. And what was that? What did he give him? Holy name. Yes, the process of chanting of the holy names of the Lord. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, kalaunasti eva nasti eva nasti eva gatiranyatha. So in order to be able to benefit from this chanting of the Hare Krishna, we should try to purify our motivation, approach Krishna with the right motivation and the right intensity. And if these two things are there, then the process will give fruits very fast. And when we are engaged in Krishna consciousness, we'll feel content, we'll feel happy, we'll feel joyful. And then it will be very easy to continue doing it year after year for a whole life, because it will be natural. When something is natural for you, when you feel happiness when you're doing it, you don't have problem doing it. Like, for example, if I ask Narada Muni to go and play football, is he going to be happy? No, of course, because he's a brahmachari. But I guess he has some natural desire to do this. Do you have natural desire? Not anymore. You don't have any material desires. A little bit. Because it's something very natural, something that we were cultivating for such a long time. It's very natural. He doesn't have like a special push. If he just sees the opportunity, maybe he'll say, oh, let me do it. Or okay, let's take our Nitish Prabhu. Let's mention him. We were on Gita Nagari and like we were doing our service, whatever devotees asked for us. But when we were free, spontaneously, Raganuga, he was just going out and he had a football with him. He was just going out and he was playing alone. Even he doesn't need association. He was so advanced, he had such a strong taste for it, he didn't need any external environment, special situation. He was already there. But the same thing about Krishna consciousness. If we really like what we are doing, then it will be very easy to do it. So that's why we have to have the right motivation and the proper intensity to get taste in spiritual life. And the other thing is, it will help very much. Do things that you already have some liking to them. Then it will be much easier to develop this spontaneous desire to do something for Krishna. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So maybe first we can give to Maharaj to answer the question, if he likes. The question, Maharaj, was, if we chant our rounds, and at the end of our chanting, if we feel happy, can we say this is a criteria that we did a good japa? Or this can be material also?
Well, I would say in general, yeah. It shows that at least to some extent we are experiencing, because I think it's quite common for the other thing to happen, that we start japa and we kind of veer off course, somewhere early on, and then japa becomes very, very difficult, and we need to go sleep somewhere or do something else for a while and get back into it, So that's usually a sure sign that our japa was pretty crummy at that particular time. And what's actually more scary is that I think if you continue to do japa that way for periods of time, you'll come to the point where you'll give it up altogether, because it just becomes really burdensome, and you don't recall ever having a good time while trying to do japa, so you just kind of, later on the whole prospect. But usually if you're struggling, even if it's hard, you feel a sense of accomplishment. That you had to struggle with your mind, but somehow or another it worked out. So generally I would say that if you feel a sense of satisfaction, you're on more or less the right course. It's always, japa can always go deeper and deeper, and you can always be more and more focused. You can always be more and more realized, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you.
That's how I would respond.
Hare Krishna. I have two questions, but I can just start with one. You were mentioning about family attachment and how it's so difficult to give up, and I'm reminded of the verse in a couple chapters later, "Pasangam ajaram pasham atmana kavayo vidu," which is kind of like paraphrasing. It's like that the material association or desires that we have, if we take those desires and apply them to the pure devotees, we get mukti or liberation. So my question is for family attachment, and we can actually extend that to just relationships with the devotees in general. If your family is devotees, but then if you're attached to them based on the family level, not that they're devotees. Like for example, I was just thinking of like Srila Prabhupada. I was thinking that after 1977, when Srila Prabhupada left our vision, left the world, many people saw Srila Prabhupada as like a father figure. But once the father leaves, many, due to one circumstance or the other, some people have the tendency to leave. So is that based on real spiritual realization, or is it based on just like an attachment of the body? And if it is just attachment of the body for a devotee, is it worth anything if you're attached to like the body of a devotee, and not as a devotee? I hope that makes sense.
That's a PhD question. But very nice, very deep question. Thank you. Well, generally when we are attached to other living entities, let's say they are devotees, we will have both things at the same time. So spiritual connection and attachment will be there, but also material. Because if it was only spiritual, then why exactly this person? I mean, you can become spiritually attached to each and every living entity. Why exactly this personality? So that means there is some material liking. It can be because of the way of thinking or because of the physical attraction or whatever. And then, but there is also spiritual attachment, because why we choose exactly this person who is a devotee and chanting Hare Krishna? We'll just go outside and just choose random guy or lady. So the spiritual aspect also is there, and it's important. It's part of the consideration. Now the question is, which of the two will be leading? If the spiritual is leading, then it will be progressive. If material is leading, then it will be purifying, but it will be slower. It will be purifying because still spiritual is part of it, but it's not as intense to make a rapid spiritual advancement. So again, it depends what kind of a relationship will be built exactly on what. And generally, practically speaking, when a relationship starts, especially when the people are young, it may not be that the spiritual is the main thing. Rather, maybe the material will be the main. But then it's expected that gradually, when these individuals mature more and more in life, actually the spiritual becomes the leading one. So if we come to this point, then it will be very good. And we see this. We see this in the life of, we have so many good examples in our movement. Personalities, let's say, they got together, they got married in Krishna consciousness when they are young, and they went through the whole like material experience, like kids, job, like expanding the material field of activity. But then the time came that they said, okay, enough. Now let's really focus on the spiritual stuff. And let's say they finish their material engagements more or less, and they just start traveling together and preaching. Like we have many examples of those. But let's say Vaisheshika Prabhu also, like he's just traveling with his wife and he's totally focused on the preaching. Or Sankarshan Prabhu, the spiritual master. So it's an example how actually the whole relationship completely focus on the spiritual perspective. Then it will be very strong. Then it will be very maturing spiritually. Now about the Srila Prabhupada example that you gave, yeah, maybe there was some material attachment also there, but still the position of Srila Prabhupada is such, being a pure devotee, that it doesn't matter how you become attached to a pure devotee, you'll be benefited out of it. Okay, you may say someone was very, very seriously practicing and he never went down in his spiritual practice, and like there he is 50 years, very steady, and someone else, he was very, very strong and very enthusiastic during the time of Prabhupada, and then he disappeared and nobody knows where is he. But because of getting so much association with such advanced pure devotee, it's a question of very little time that he'll be back and he'll be very, very strong spiritually. So from our perspective, we may say, oh, it looks like he blooped and like he's in Maya and this and that. But actually from spiritual perspective, it's just a moment. Maybe just for a moment, he needs another moment to purify his understanding and motivation, and then he'll be again back to the track and he'll continue. Because Bhagavad Gita is saying, Neha vikrama nashasti pratyavayo na vidyate swapa alpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahadoge vayat. It will be, means cannot, whatever he did as a spiritual advancement, it cannot go in vain. Like this famous story, you all know the story about Narada Muni, that he preached to the brother of, who was it? Bali Maharaj, I think? Bali? I think Bali Maharaj asked Narada Muni to give some mercy to his brother. And Narada Muni tried, but he said, no, we just give up. Like, I'm useless case. No way, you cannot do anything about me spiritually. Then Narada Muni was thinking for a long time. He said, okay, remember one thing. When the time of death comes and you see the Yamadutas coming to take you, because they'll come to take you, ask one question. What is the benefit of associating even one moment with a pure devotee? Okay? Just this remember. I don't want anything else from you. So then he said, okay, that's easy. This I can do, no problem. So the time came and the Yamaduta show off, and then he remembered, oh, Narada Muni, tell me, ask this question. So he asked the question, and then Yamaduta said, interesting question. Never actually asked us this question before. I think this is beyond our qualification to answer. So anyway, we are going to Yamaraj. I think he'll be able to answer. So they brought him to Yamaraj, and they said, okay, this is the guy, very sinful, like useless case, but he has a very special question. What is that? Said Yamaraj. He is asking what is the benefit of associating even one moment with a pure devotee. Yamaraj, when he heard the question, he started like trembling, ecstatic symptoms, like, wow, what is this kind of sinful guy that is asking such a question? He said, that's an amazing question, but you know what's the problem? Even I'm not qualified to answer this question. So, okay, everybody with me, we are going to Brahmaji. We have to ask Brahma. So the whole party goes to Brahma Loka, and they present the case. We have this sinful guy, but he's asking interesting question. And Brahma, when he heard the question, he also became ecstatic. He started dancing, and he said, I don't know. I don't know what's the answer actually. What is the benefit of just one moment associating with a pure devotee? He said, let's go to Shiva. He would definitely be able to answer because Shiva is Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu, the greatest Vaishnava. He should know. So all of them, they are going to Shiva and they pay obeisances, then they present the case. And then when Shiva heard the question, he also became ecstatic. He started like dancing like crazy. Then Parvati had to come and cool him down because otherwise this will be the end of the universe. So he was thinking for a while and he said, I don't know. I mean, that's such a great question that even I don't know what's the answer. So, okay, let's go to Vishnu. And all of them, like the whole Harinam party, because now it's already like Shiva is there, Brahma is there, Yamaraj is there. The whole party goes to Vishnu and they pay obeisances and they present the case. And they say, this is the question, what is the benefit of associating even one moment with a pure devotee? And then Vishnu told and told and told for a while. And he said, even I don't know. I mean, associating with a pure devotee, you get such a big benefit. Even I don't know what is the benefit. It's such amazing benefit, even I don't know. So then they said, okay, well, if you don't know, that means nobody knows. So, okay, let's go back. And then Vishnu said, all of you, you go back because you have something to do. But he stays. And they said, what do you mean he stays? Like, he's a sinful guy. We have to give him now punishment. And Vishnu said, no. Don't get me wrong, but I said in Bhagavad Gita, if someone comes to my abode, he never goes back to the material world. And then when they heard this and they, oh, so now this is the benefit of associating one moment with a pure devotee. Now we understand, okay. And then, can we stay? And Vishnu said, no, you have duty to do, so you go back. So all of them had to go back to the material world for a little bit more time. But this person, he was saved by the mercy of Narada Muni's association. So they will be definitely benefited. So you said you have one more question, and Narada Muni also. Maybe he can ask him. Okay. So what's your second one?
So you were mentioning about the holy name. We have if volume. You said volume helps in terms of like chanting 32 rounds. You said that. We say that verse every morning, Bahu Janma Kori Adi Shravana Kirtana. That this is just I'm just seeing if my thought process is right. That if we chant millions and millions of lives, and if we're chanting offensively, we won't get the ultimate goal, which is Krishna Prema. But it's said that the root of all offenses is inattentiveness, and the solution to get rid of these offenses is to chant more. So in that case, by chanting more rounds, even if they're offensive, we can make, at least Krishna will reveal through Vidyavadu Jivanam that he'll give us the knowledge that by which we can make progress. So is that one way of understanding is that even if we're chanting more rounds, you can never go wrong, because even if they're offensive.
Yes, provided we have the proper motivation. Means we are chanting sincerely. Sincerely means we may still do offenses, but we are really trying to improve and we really want to chant nicely. So provided we have this, even if our chanting is not great, if we chant more, it will bring some quality also. Generally, this is the case. Now, if we have some strange motivations, then we can chant Bahu Janma Kareyadi, and then again it won't give the result. But if we are sincere, like devotees generally, they are sincere. They want to do it for the pleasure of Krishna. Yes, that's why we say, my dear Shrimati Radharani, O energy of the Lord, my dear Lord, please engage me in your service. If we have this proper motivation, and we are doing it. The more we are doing it, the more we will become purified, so it will be easy to focus. And once we focus on the holy name, then it becomes nectar. Problem is when you chant but you are not focused, then it becomes like a burden. So then it will work. I mean, maybe Maharaj can share something more on this. If we chant more, this will bring
obviously if you chant
better
more.
quality.
Yeah. Obviously, if you chant more, eventually your japa will become better. So that's the whole point. At some point in our lives, we'll come to a tipping point where we'll become serious about chanting. How quickly that comes is up to our own, free will and our own recognition of how central chanting is to the process of Krishna consciousness. Well, you made a statement at the very beginning about your uncle or whatever it was who was smoking. And I flashed on a comment that one time Mark Twain, the famous author Mark Twain, said. He said that giving up smoking is not difficult at all. I know, I have done it many times. He said that knowing, of course, it was a tongue-in-cheek statement, but that's kind of that kind of seemed in the same direction as what you were talking about.
Thank you, Maharaj. Something else that I was thinking about this point about chanting more. Like I was thinking, one thing is you can just chant more and in this way become more focused. But actually we have another shortcut according to the mood of Srila Prabhupada and mood of Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. Actually, if we see what is their mood, they were never putting so much stress on this. You do something to benefit others. Now, if you do something to benefit others, this brings very special credit in your bank account. And this special credit will help you, although you are chanting a little bit, you'll be able to get taste out of it. Somehow it works like that. A little bit mystical, but the moment you go outside and you try to give Krishna consciousness to others through books, through Harinam, inviting people, somehow immediately this makes that you are getting some very special mercy from Krishna. And this mercy will help you to experience taste in spiritual life. And then spiritual life will be juicy. And then it will be easy to go on and on and on and on. So that's something like a shortcut for us through the preaching mood of Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj and Bhaktivinoda Thakur. They are giving this special angle in spiritual life. Preaching is the essence, yes. Okay, thank you very much, dear devotees. Grantaraj Śrimad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Radha Govinda Dev ki